Russia took the initiative to invite China to build a new port, which is more important than the Tumen River estuary. In order to ensure the smooth progress of Sino-Russian Far East cooperation, Russia not only sincerely helps China solve the Tumen River estuary problem, but also invites China to prepare to build another new port. It is said that this port is more important than the Tumen River estuary. Once built in the future, it will become the key to breaking through the restrictions of China and Russia in the Northeast and Far East. So, what is this project? What special strategic value does it have? Let us take a closer look in this video. According to foreign media reports, when the chief executive of the Primorsky Krai of Russia visited Belarus, he discussed with Belarus the issue of jointly building a new seaport in the Primorsky Krai. According to him, this project will be jointly undertaken by Russia, Belarus, and China, and related work is being actively promoted. It is expected that the site selection of the port will be completed before 2025. Prior to this, the deputy governor of the Primorsky Krai had visited China and discussed with China the relevant issues of strengthening cooperation in multiple fields such as transportation and logistics. At that time, the deputy governor of the Primorsky Krai proposed that port cooperation between China and the Primorsky Krai should be expanded, and even mentioned the ports of Nakotka and Slavianka in the region. As early as June 1 last year, Russia opened Vladivostok in the Primorsky Krai to China as a domestic trade transit port, and the container turnover between the port of Vladivostok and China increased rapidly. According to statistics, in 2023, the port of Vladivostok handled 859,400 TEUs for the first time in history, an increase of 12% over the previous year. Since the first direct flight from Yayang-Chenglingji container terminal to Slavianka port in Vladivostok in July last year, a total of 42 round-trip voyages have been completed by July this year, with a total of more than 3,500 standard containers sent, with a cargo value of over 378 million. The port of Vladivostok is still very busy this year. In the first quarter, 196,500 container turnovers have been completed. With this successful attempt by China and Russia at the port of Vladivostok, Russia has also seen new hope for deeper cooperation between China and Russia in the Primorsky Krai. The Primorsky Krai is an administrative region at the southeast end of Russia's Far East. The region borders China and North Korea to the west, faces the Sea of Japan to the southeast, has a long coastline, and is on the north side of Russia's Khabarovsk Krai, with a total area of about 164,700 square kilometers. Historically, this place was Chinese territory and part of the northeast region. However, after the Qing dynasty signed the Beijing Treaty with Tsarist Russia in 1860, 400,000 square kilometers of territory east of the Estuary River, including Sakhalin Island, was ceded to Tsarist Russia, including the Primorsky Krai of Russia today. After Jilin, China lost its long coastline due to the Sino-Russian Beijing Treaty. The Primorsky Krai became the closest place to the Sea of Japan in Jilin Province, China. There is a Tumen River estuary with a length of only 15 kilometers between Fengchuan village in Hunshan, Jilin, and the Sea of Japan, but in fact, if you go straight from Fengchuan village through the Primorsky Krai of Russia, it only takes about 10 kilometers to reach the Sea of Japan. Therefore, for China, the Primorsky Krai is also the closest and most convenient channel for China's northeast to go to the sea. In the past, due to historical and geopolitical considerations, Russia was very wary of Chinese companies or investors developing the Far East, but in recent years, with Russia's eastward and westward in terms of economy and other aspects, its port shipping in the Far East has become particularly important. Especially as goods from Russia and northeast China are rapidly transferred to Vladivostok, the transportation pressure on the port has doubled. In order to meet the logistics and shipping needs of the Far East as soon as possible and stimulate the economic activity of the Far East as much as possible, Russia needs to give full play to the unique advantages of the Primorsky region and build a new seaport that can meet the trade and transportation needs of China and Russia as soon as possible. Once the new port is built, the trade logistics in Russia's Far East will increase exponentially, and it will also attract more international investment. In the future, Primorsky Krai will have the opportunity to become Russia's key trade transit station and logistics hub in the Far East. However, due to Russia's limited financial and technical strength, the Russian-Ukrainian conflict is still consuming more of Russia's energy, and Western sanctions and pressure have not yet ended. Under this circumstance, if Russia wants to build a new port, it can only seek help from outside. China's northeast and Russia's Far East have natural geographical advantages. Against the background of the continuous advancement of the Belt and Road Initiative, China's sufficient funds and advanced technical support are naturally the best choice for Russia to cooperate. For China, the lack of an effective seaport in northeast China has always been one of the key factors restricting the economic development of northeast China. For a long time in the past, goods from Jilin and Heilongjiang could only be transported by land to Liaoning port before being shipped by ship. However, this method is not only time-consuming, labor-intensive and costly, but also increases the transportation pressure of Liaoning port. Although Russia has effectively eased the pressure of logistics and trade in northeast China after opening Vladivostok to China, due to the long-term lack of maintenance in Vladivostok, Russia has not effectively upgraded the seaport in the past, and the transportation capacity is actually very limited, far from meeting the huge cargo transportation volume in northeast China. Over the years, in order to help northeast China improve the efficiency of logistics and transportation, China has tried to borrow the port to go to sea, and has repeatedly proposed to Russia and North Korea to dismantle or upgrade the Russian-North Korean bridge at the Tumen River estuary, but all have been ignored by Russia. Now, with the change of Russia's strategic decision-making, Russia has recently signed a number of relevant agreements on the Tumen River estuary with China and North Korea, which finally brings hope to open the Tumen River estuary. But in fact, the width and depth of the Tumen River channel are very limited, and even if it is opened, it will not actually play a big role. In this case, it is very necessary to cooperate with Russia to build a new port in the Primorsky Krai. In the future, the new port will cooperate with the Tumen River estuary, and China can build a cross-border logistics base with Russia and North Korea in the region, which will greatly promote the economic development of northeast China. It is also worth noting that the project of China, Russia and Belarus to build a port in Primorsky Krai is part of Russia's plan to open the Northern Sea route, and has been included in Russia's national strategic planning for the next few decades. The Northern Sea route is a new freight route proposed by Russia to cross the Arctic Ocean. In fact, it is the shortest sea route connecting the Far East and Europe, the Arctic route. Originally, most of the cargo transportation between Asia and Europe relied on traditional routes from the Black Sea, the Mediterranean Sea, the Atlantic Ocean, through the Red Sea, the Indian Ocean, the South China Sea, and key channels such as the Suez Canal and the Strait of Malacca between various seas. since Russia's effective seaports in Europe are concentrated on the Black Sea and the Baltic Sea, and the geopolitical relations in these seas are complex, Russia's seagoing has always been subject to certain limitations and uncertainties. Especially after the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, NATO intervened and restricted these seas, resulting in Russia facing huge difficulties and pressures in going out to sea, which further promoted Russia's determination and speed to open up the Northern Sea route. The construction and transformation of the seaport in the Primorsky Krai has become a key link in Russia's full launch of this route. As for the construction of this port, why Belarus should be involved is also due to Russia's considerations of geopolitical strategy and other aspects. Now Russia's effective strategic security zone in Europe is only Belarus. Since the outbreak of the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, Belarus has also been subject to multifaceted sanctions from the West, resulting in a certain impact on the country's foreign trade, logistics, and transportation. In the future, once Russia decides to shift its development focus to the Far East, Belarus will face a more difficult situation in Europe. Therefore, bringing Belarus with it and cooperating with China to build a new seaport in the Far East can, on the one hand, provide opportunities for Belarus to expand into the Asian market and consolidate the strategic relationship between Russia and Belarus. On the other hand, due to the huge gap in strength between China and Russia, Russia has always been concerned about the geopolitical balance between China and Russia in the Far East. By bringing Belarus in, it can play a balancing role in cooperation with China, thereby gaining more initiative for itself. In short, the plan of China, Russia, and Belarus to build a new port in the Primorsky Krai will benefit all three parties. Once this port is built, its value will even far exceed the Tumen River estuary. With the continuous deepening of China-Russia cooperation, similar cooperation will only increase in the future. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more great content. See you next time.